Okay, students, welcome to part 2 of our water shortage. Oops, they don't look like water droplets at all. But oh well. Part 2. Okay, so the first part we will just be looking at the impacts of water shortage. Okay, so we are looking at impacts. Okay, and for impacts, there are actually 3 types of impacts. We have domestic, economic, and political. But we will only be focusing on domestic and economic. Okay, so let's look at our domestic impact first. So domestic is, how am I supposed to divide this? See, I'm confused. Okay, because there are 2 domestic impacts, so I need to plan the space. Okay, the first one is actually increase. Let me zoom in for you. Difficulty in collecting water. Now, so in developing countries especially, so we are looking at the example of developing countries like Africa. People travel long distances to obtain water. Now, sometimes they have to walk 6 kilometers. Okay, so this is the example of Africa, and they can only bring back as much as they can carry. And collect. Okay, some other things that can happen is that usually it is the women and children who collect water. Now, for the women, it can be dangerous for them. Actually, for the women and the children, it can be dangerous to carry heavy objects. Likewise, for the children, they may be missing out on education. Okay, so these are some impacts also. Okay, the next one we are looking at, let me box it up so it's easier to read. Okay, we are looking at water rationing. Okay, so what it means is that to conserve water supply, some governments impose water rationing. Okay, so water can only be collected at certain timings of the day. So after which, if they miss that timing, they won't get any water to use. Okay, and then what it means is that because there's only this timing where people collect water, actually there are queues to collect water. Okay, which is super inconvenient. Imagine you want to cook your dinner and you need water to wash your veggie, but you have to queue 1 hour to get water. And the water that you get is exactly how many. They also control how much you can take. So maybe you can only take 2 pails of water, and that 2 pails of water that you collect, you have to use for the entire day. So it's actually quite sad to think about it. Okay, so these are the two domestic impacts. We are now going to look at the two economic impacts. Okay, so economic, domestic, it affects the people slash household. Economic will obviously impact your businesses and your company, and also lastly money. Okay, so what are the two economic impacts, right? The first one, we actually have reduced agricultural yield. Okay, so when water supply decreases, what happens is that amount of crop grown also decrease. Okay, hence there will be less food produced and people may die from starvation. Another thing that can happen is because now there's less water, so if you really need water to produce your goods, right, you will have to pay more to get the water. So there is an increase in cost of production. Why? Because so cost of production refers to the cost of producing and manufacturing goods, in case you have forgotten. So fresh water is needed for various purposes like cleaning. Okay, and then what happens is when water supply drops, increase cost of production. Okay, now this increase in cost of production, right, is not an issue until consumers pay more for the product. Okay, and that is all we have for impacts of water shortage. We are now going to move on to the last part of water shortage, which is our management. Okay, so we are just going to look at water resource management, all the strategies. Okay, so there are so many ways in which we can manage our water resources. So let's also split it into demand, managing demand, and then we have increasing supply. Okay, so in managing demand, right, Singapore actually came out with two ways in which we can manage demand. So the first one that we are going to look at is water pricing. This is not new to you. You already know that what we do is that we do things like increase there's a water conservation tax. Okay, whereby this will actually increase prices of water. And the more you use, more water use, the more you pay. Okay, so obviously there are positive things and negative things about it. Okay, so when you increase price, what is very good about it, right, is that it actually allow people to be more mindful of water consumption, as they don't want to pay more for their water, right? So there is another benefit whereby people can appreciate the value of clean water. Now, this is not very good because when there is an increase in cost of production due to the increase in water prices, we learn this in the economic impact, will lead to increase in cost of production, which then actually leads to increase in cost of goods for consumers. Okay, so that is the first negative limitation. The other one is it may not affect those of higher income or affluence because it does not impact them. Okay, so that is for water conservation tax. Okay, another way to manage demand is through this thing. Correct. It's through this thing called public education. And there are two ways to do it. Okay, so public education, we have two things that we do. Okay, we do wells, which is the tick system. Okay, let me write what wells means. It is water efficiency labeling scheme. Okay, so you buy water efficient products or appliances. Okay, so that is wells. Let me zoom in, it's a bit small. Okay, and then we also use this thing called our water saving kit. Okay, whereby there is water timbers and then there is stickers. Okay, so what public education does is that the positive and the negative. Okay, so what is so good about it is that it teach people the importance of water in their lives. And secondly, there is a potential for lasting positive changes in people's use of water. However, it may not be useful because it takes time to change people's behaviors. And secondly, success depends on the willingness of people to change. Yep. Oops, you cannot see. So that is for public education. Okay, we are now going to move on to increasing supply of water, and we know that there are 4 ways in which we do it. So the first way is through this thing called, actually no, just call these 4 national taps. Okay, so our first tap that we always talk about is our local catchment. Okay, so what we do is that we have simplify it. We have 17 reservoirs. Okay, we created 17 reservoirs, and what is so good about it is that it takes advantage of SG's high rainfall. Okay, another thing that is so good about it is that these reservoirs serve as recreational areas. So you can go kayaking, you can go and have a run around the reservoir. Okay, now it is also not very good because it takes away land for other uses such as industrial or housing. Okay, and there are also times where when there is little rainfall or a drought, these areas are ineffective. Yep, so that is for local catchment. Okay, the next water tap that we have is imported water. Okay, so what we do is we have agreements, we have pipelines from Lingyu Reservoir in Amsia to SG, and our water agreement expires in 2061. Okay, so what is so good about this is it does not require land and frees up land for other users. Okay, and when there is drought, no, there is no drought. What am I talking about? See lah, I look at. Okay, it is a cheaper source of water than new water or desalinated water. Okay, however, it's not as effective as it does not meet demands for water in SG. Okay, and the agreement will expire, and there is no guarantee of future agreements. So once it expires, we may not have enough water anymore. Okay, wow, that's really a lot don't even know whether I got enough space to write everything or not. Okay, the next one is new water. Okay, so new water, right, is something whereby we treat water to become drinking water. Okay, maybe let's just look at it as this. So it is not dependent on rainfall as well. As it uses recycled water or used water, and then it is ultra pure and of high quality. However, it is expensive to produce, and the public find it difficult to accept new technology. Okay, lastly, we have desalinated water. Okay, almost similar to new water, except that it doesn't use recycled water lah. That means it doesn't use water from your toilets, from your taps. It uses, so desalination actually removes dissolved salts and minerals from water. Okay, so what is so good about it is that it is also not dependent on rainfall. And SG is surrounded by limitless supply of seawater. However, it is very expensive and energy intensive. Okay, as well as these chemicals and salt solution actually causes water pollution. And there you have it. Your 4 water taps. I know this is horrible handwriting, which is why you need to listen to me talk and do this at the same time. Okay, so there you have it, the end of our water shortage notes. I hope you enjoyed this series. Good luck for your exams. Bye.